Alright, my opponent started off listing all these great things that came about from animal testing. And actually many of the most important medical breakthroughs were achieved without the experimentation on animals. These included anesthesia, the stethoscope, morphine, radium, penicillin, artificial respiration, x-rays, antiseptics, the CAT scan, MRI, and PET scans, the study of bacteriology and germ theory, the discovery of the link between cholesterol and heart disease, and the link between smoking and cancer, and along with the isolation of the virus that causes AIDS. Those were all done without the use of animals. And he also brought up polio, which is interesting because two separate bodies of work were done on this polio research, and the in vitro work, which was awarded the Nobel Prize, did not involve animals. Nobel laureate Arthur Kornberg noted that for 40 years, the experiments on monkeys who had been infected with polio generated limited progress toward the cure. And the breakthrough came when scientists learned how to grow the virus from human cells. Medical historians have shown that improved nutrition and sanitation standards and other bacterial and environmental factors, rather than knowledge gained from animal experiments, is responsible for the decreasing number of deaths from common infectious diseases since 1990, and that medicine has had little to do with increased life expectancy. Also, you mentioned that IUCACs, the workers that verify that these conditions are safe for animals, well, these workers are actually employees for the lab, and so if they shut down the lab, they lose their job. So it's not really in their benefit to be a whistleblower. He also claimed that animals are very similar to humans, and it's true. There are animals that are pretty similar to humans. Rats have 99% of the same genes as humans, but all living creatures have just about over 90% of the same DNA. That doesn't mean that they're exactly the same. It's these little differences that cause little differences in one gene that can cause huge differences in the way people are. Animals increasingly, there's a growing number of scientists that argue that animal and human physiology is so different you can't generalize between the two. And while there are diseases that are shared between animals, the conditions of these diseases, the symptoms of these diseases are actually very different. Since it is, when you show how rats and mice are affected by diseases, they're affected extremely differently from humans. And rats are only used not because of their similarities, but because they're cheap, they reproduce, and they don't need any kind of special diet. There are key differences between animals and humans in their circulation and nervous systems. Humans have an amazingly more complex nervous system than any animal. When you do an experiment on an animal, you can never be sure if it can be replicated in a human, and oftentimes it can't. And that's a serious problem for both humans and animals. Also, 83% of substances are metabolized differently by animals and humans. Most medical researchers agree that data from animal tests cannot be extrapolated safely to human patients. Kevin had some other examples. I'm going to add some more about the lemon juice is safe for humans. It's a deadly poison for some animals. And arsenic and botulinum are safe for many animals. And in fact, 88% of stillbirths on record are caused by drugs that passed as safe in animal tests. That's horrible. And less than 2% of human illnesses are even on record in the animal kingdom. Yet we still use animals to try to find cures for these diseases. because laboratory animals don't have these conditions naturally, they must be created artificially. So the duplicates aren't exactly what you see in humans. Like, for example, when they research strokes, they create a stroke artificially, which is not the same as a human stroke. And this does not do anything except harm the animals, because it will never tell us how a stroke is actually caused. In addition, there are many better research methods that exist. You claim that the eye irritation levels are going down, but the eye irritation test levels are going down. However, the FDA doesn't even require these eye irritation tests. So these are just blatant torture of animals, and there's really no reason for it. There are no good animals available for HIV and AIDS, because animals don't develop the AIDS virus in any of the same way that humans do. Dr. Mark Feinberg, an AIDS researcher, said, "What good does it do to test on monkeys? You spend 5 or 6 years working on a vaccine that works on monkeys, only to find out that it has no effect on humans." And in the UK, they've been reducing the number of animals they use by using cell cultures and computer modeling. And so if we start switching to these new methods of cell cultures, computer modeling, and you can take a small cancer cell, put it in a test tube, and see how medications react to it. And you can do that with human cancer cells instead of using animals. So then you don't even need to use an animal, and you're actually testing on something that would work on humans. And that's it. Thank you.